So here in the Charlotte area and really our surrounding counties up to the mountains, we are expecting rain. Our Chris Mulcahy is in the live Impact studio already, so early. Thanks for coming in, Chris, because we need to talk about these storms heading our way. And shall we be weather alert today?
Do you want to think that's a good idea? Let's do it. Let's go weather alert. And the main time frame here is going to be anywhere from noon till 7 o'clock. But I'm going to actually iron that down because as I joked earlier, that's like the cable company saying, here, we'll be here any point in the afternoon. You need to be able to plan a little bit better than that. So I think the Charlotte area specifically is going to see things between about 2 and 4 o'clock. That's kind of the magic hour. The thing that's really tough about these scenarios is that they often will accelerate. So sometimes they can exceed the line, and that's why we've really factored this in here. And yesterday we were talking about 2 to 8 for the time frame. We moved it up, and I think realistically 7 we might be all clear from severe, and I'm talking about even as far east as Richmond County around Rockingham. All right, so heavy rain, strong winds, and isolated hail are all going to be a possibility. If we see sunshine, it's not going to be a good scenario. And what's actually really interesting, 30 minutes ago, you were actually seeing some blue sky for this camera. What's happening right now is that's the fog burning off. So fog, literally, once it starts to warm up, it rises up, and then eventually it will dissipate. So fog is a ground cloud. When it gets above our head, it's a stratus cloud, and that's what we're seeing here. And then eventually, we are going to see a decent amount of sunshine going forward. We don't see much happening on the Doppler radar for right now, but I think you're going to see a line of storms as early as 11 to noon for our North Carolina mountains, because here it is, the main event. Here, I'm going to stop this. This cold front is a perfect recipe underneath a low pressure system, because low pressure system is going to allow the atmosphere to spin. That's the wind shear. That's what cranks it up to be a stronger thunderstorm, and it could also twist it enough that we have a supercell or a chance for a spin-up tornado. So we have all those ingredients in place that anything goes. I call it the trifecta: chance for hail, chance for damaging winds, and a chance for a spin-up tornado. The thing with the tornadoes, though, we know how isolated they are, but they produce the most damage in that small stint. So right now, that front is going to arrive later in the evening, but it's the prefrontal boundary that's already almost to the Tennessee state line. It's 9 o'clock, so that's why I said 11 o'clock. It could be here in Watauga, right around Ashe and Avery County. So let's take a closer look here. Right now, just some thunder and lightning. I'm not seeing any active warnings with this. We have them turned on. No active watches right now. There is a chance that we could actually have an active watch, because check this out. This is actually a brand new update from our severe weather outlook. The SPC looks like they just upgraded us to a high threshold for severe storms, and that's starting right around the Charlotte area. And this actually doesn't surprise me, because the further east that you go, the more unstable it's going to be. So, Jane, you asked this question yesterday, and I thought this was great, that you said, why is it a lesser chance in the mountains compared to here? And it's just because I think the peak of the storms, the main line, will be in the area of red from about 3 to 5 o'clock. And during that time, we usually hit our high temperature. The warmer the temperature, the more unstable we are. That's also the peak moisture. So that's why we're seeing this.
Okay. Very good. So then we're going to be on guard starting around noon, really.
Yeah, and we're going to break it down even further. So our tornado parameter is showing a low risk here, but what I have this broken down into is your tornado threat, your hail threat, and your wind damage threat. Winds have always been the number one, because I think it's going to be the leading edge of this line of thunderstorms that could potentially allow for a stronger burst or even a downburst of wind. And it's that area red that's the strongest, but all of us will have a chance for gusty winds from 40 to 60 miles per hour, some getting a little bit higher. Usually whenever we're put into an enhanced risk, which is the high on our key here, that is a better chance, maybe even gusts up to about 70 miles per hour. And I'll show you the radar signature here in a sec, but I want to focus in on the tornado parameter a little bit more. Underneath that low pressure system is where you have that most spin and that most wind shear. So I think it's that area, that sweet spot there, which could also include parts of Salisbury over to Concord, Statesville, Hickory even. That's where I think that you would have a better chance for a tornado to be embedded along this line. Storm fuel is high, but it's not the highest I've ever seen. That's the only thing that's kind of helping us out. But you start to see some of those yellows really start to burst the further east that you go. So again, I think it's really east of I-77 that has the best chance for this. Tornado parameter, anytime we see a number here, notice how it really starts to flourish right around Raleigh. So that's where I think it's going to be the biggest severe weather outbreak and probably the most damage, which is actually in our favor. So if you live west of I-77, I'm not disregarding your chance for severe storms. I just think it's going to be much higher and a lot more prevalent the further east that you go, which could be a saving grace for a lot of us. All right, here's our futurecast. This is a brand new update, so the models would have shown and factored in the newest atmospheric data to see what's happening here. This is 1 o'clock, and this is actually even faster than what I was showing between about 7 and 8 earlier on WCNC+. So that pushes storms into Lincolnton right around 1 o'clock. This likely would be some torrential downpours, probably gusts up to 40 around Shelby come 1 o'clock. Now, once you get to 2 o'clock, it's Charlotte. So I've been calling about 2 to 4, and that's the reason why we have a 2-hour window. I would not be surprised if there's some areas in Charlotte, or at least nearby, Gaston County, Lincoln County, that you could even have an active severe thunderstorm warning by about 1:30 to 2 o'clock. So that's why we have this wide open window between about noon and 7. I don't think it needs to last till 7, because look what happens. Here about 3 o'clock, this is where we're seeing a change. So this is actually a really good piece of weather IQ here. And let me bring up a pointer tool. Oftentimes along a line, you're going to have stronger pieces. Sometimes when you have stronger winds, certain parts of it start to bow out, and that's what we're seeing here. And if you remember the red, that pretty much cuts right across Charlotte into this zone. So I think what's going to happen is areas to the south and areas to the north are going to take a lot of the energy away. So sometimes it can be maddening for people who say, so who do you talk about? It didn't storm. But then meanwhile, your friend 20 miles away has wind damage at their house. Right. Because sometimes the broken parts of the segment are going to be all the difference, where you have just rain and gusty winds compared to the damaging winds or the spin-up tornado. So I want everyone to keep this, even though we haven't been really harping on the tornado threat. These are the ones that are always sneaky, that sometimes a rain-wrapped tornado and the tornado warning could be issued, but something already happened. You got to treat it like you could have winds that exceed 60 to 80 miles per hour at any point during these situations, even though likely they're going to be below that threshold. By about 5 o'clock, the heaviest storms, as we've seen, the biggest concern are in the central part of the state. So realistically, by the end of the commute, we should be good to go. So stay weather alert, even though I have the 7 o'clock time frame. I was thinking about moving back and I was like, better safe than sorry, just in case something slows down. But this is moving faster than it was. I think at one point we could have a few severe thunderstorm warnings that are saying that this storm is moving up to 55 miles per hour. Wouldn't be surprised.
Wow, why so fast? And why are the winds picking up?
Because as the internal winds within a storm get stronger, those little bows that I was saying like that, it starts to drive things. Picture it pretty, yeah, the shrimp. Yeah. So picture that you're putting pretty much the pedal to the metal right there. They're stepping on the gas. So as they're trying to drive forward, they're actually dragging the rest of the storm system with them. Okay. So they tend to go a lot faster. So sometimes you can have them moving at 60 miles per hour with a chance of winds produced up to 60 miles per hour. So it's almost like dragging a dog on a leash kind of through the area. And cold fronts tend to do this as well, because it's like a pendulum where it swings through. So kind of then as it's picking up that momentum, it'll push through the area. But the good news is by this evening, we should have the all clear, maybe a chance for a little bit of rain, still gusty wind out of the cooler direction, but our window's going to be quick. Literally, that leading edge, the worse the weather, the worse the damage can happen in a couple of minutes or within a 10-minute period.
All right, so this is App State right now, live picture there.
It's the Hickory campus.
Hickory campus.
Okay, you mentioned Hickory.
Yeah.
It's I'm like, it's gorgeous.
It looks great right now.
That is great, but bad.
Right? That's bad news, right? Like how beautiful it is.
Yeah, you will always hear Brad say this. Is like, oh, it's a beautiful day. That's terrible news. Yeah, because the more sunshine you see, the more unstable the atmosphere gets, because that allows us to get a little bit warmer. Ideally, the best case is when you have a bunch of rain beforehand and there's not a lot of cloud cover, because that doesn't allow it to really hit its maximum. So the more sunshine, the more blue sky that you're seeing, and the longer it lasts. That's also another case of what we were saying. Raleigh is going to see sunshine pretty much going forward from about like now to 10 o'clock up until about 5 o'clock. That's most of the day. That's destabilizing for the entirety of the day. Charlotte doesn't hit that peak temperature yet. If we had this line moving a little bit slower, and say if Charlotte was going to be impacted at 5 o'clock, our high temperatures would be in the lower to the mid 80s. We're only reaching the upper 70s. 5 degrees is all the difference for this. And it also yesterday was better storm fuel. Did anyone get dumped on yesterday?
No, not on the way home, but it was this morning I saw that my truck was drenched, like downpour sometime last night.
Yeah, sometime when I drove in last night after I did some errands, some people's cars were covered and then some people's were completely dry.
Yeah.
So Stanley County, there are some roads that are out of water. I actually had a radar estimate that potentially 3 to 5 inches of rain fell over a couple of hours.
Oh, wow.
So we're not going to see anything that way as far as rain goes, but that also shows it was a lot more humid, so that was more storm fuel as well. So we have some things working against us, but we have a lot that's actually working for us. But I want to show the Guy Roofing 7-day forecast, and then we're going to move on to the weekend if you don't have any other questions after this. We had lower 80s, but then if you like the heat, we're turning it back up to 88 degrees. By the way, June officially starts on Sunday. That's the start of the Atlantic hurricane season, and it feels like June. It'll start to feel humid and sticky again. Saturday is actually the best feeling day we have this week.
So if you want to do anything outdoors this weekend, probably tomorrow's the better day.
100%. And I'm going to actually show you the reason why coming up. So the reason why is we have a front that's going to dip down towards the south. And this is not being picked up on radar apps. This is just what I'm seeing a little bit earlier. I've now upped this to a 30% chance. It might be a little bit higher. Because watch, we have this front that says goodbye, filters in some drier air. But then this little guy sneaks in. Once this arrives, I think north of the I-40 corridor, you might have some rain. So if, say, you're in pool day tomorrow, you will have a chance for storms, I would say, heading into the evening. But most of the day stays dry. I think you pick up more clouds throughout the afternoon.
You mentioned wind for tomorrow, right?
Yes, and winds are going to be gusting from 25 to 30 miles per hour.
So if I'm going to a child's birthday party where there's outside
Where there are
and there's going to be
balloons
tablecloths on tables, they might be a little blustery.
I'm also going to a child's birthday party. I probably should tell the parents about this.
Yeah.
Yes. I actually separated a segment over on our version of WCNC Plus in the studio just talking about the winds because we're so focused on the severe front that people, I think, overlook the winds more than any other parameter in the severe weather because they're like, oh, look at the temperature, look what it is. And then all of a sudden during the wintertime, it's like, oh, wow, it's really cold because of the wind. Or, oh, wow, my napkins are blowing down the road because of the wind. So, Carlene, I'm glad that you brought that up. Heck yeah, because anyone, and it's going to be outside, outdoor picnics and things like that could be blowing all over the place, especially in the middle of the afternoon. Winds are always usually lighter earlier in the day. Once you hit that peak heating, it's the temperature differential that has the biggest impacts. All right, so I want to show you what we could see potentially this weekend. All right, hold on one sec. All right, here we go. All right, so there's the line of storms. You could have a leftover shower. All right, let's get to Saturday. Okay, so let's stop it right here. That's 7 a.m. I think you're good. We pick up more clouds. That's what those little spotty guys are through the afternoon. But notice what happens as we work our way consistently throughout the day. Here it is. Right about 5 o'clock. So I think it's by the end of the afternoon, primarily north of the 485 loop, that we're starting to see a few storms. We potentially could see these drift past the area, so don't be surprised if you get nipped by one of these later on in the evening. But then your Sunday is a whole different beast. And look at this. It becomes actually widespread. And this wasn't showing up earlier, so I don't want people to get caught off guard. So Jane gave you the best advice of the weekend that if you were, should I do it on Saturday or Sunday? Saturday.
Mow the lawn tomorrow or Sunday?
Yes. And
yes.
Yeah. Sunday, I think you could do it in the morning.
Okay.
And honestly, this is going to be a broken line. I think this might be a little more aggressive than what actually happens. But whenever you're seeing this day 3 and the front's going to be around there, because what's going to happen is the front will stall out. Once it starts heating up, it'll start firing up more clouds. Once you start seeing some darker cloud bottoms, that's going to be the first sign. Because most likely you'll have fair weather cumulus. They'll start to grow. Once you see those clouds getting a little bit taller, that's your time saying that your window of clearing is probably coming to an end. You're not necessarily going to 100% see these showers. They're just becoming more scattered. And you could really see, I think, at most widespread, I think mid to late afternoon. Down in South Carolina, it's most prevalent to end the afternoon and begin the evening, and then after that, we're going to be drying out nicely. So I just want to kind of give you some of those caveats for the weekend outside of our weather alert day. So a lot to look forward to, but a lot to kind of look out for as well.
Right. I mean, look, we're looking at Buncombe County right now. And
Okay.
the
There it is.
clouds are forming. They're there. I feel like no one's really gotten a break from the clouds and the rain and all that all week since last weekend.
It really is interesting because Majestic was saying this, one of our newest members. It's so cloudy, and we've lived here for a while. It's usually not this cloudy during the springtime. This is more like of a Great Lakes type of forecast, where we at one point hadn't seen the sunshine for 3 blank days, to quote a Kid Rock song. But you can see some of those darker clouds off. Oh no, put your picture away. But what's really interesting, I brought up radar. You can actually see why you have some darker clouds right around Buncombe County. Check it out over in Asheville. They're actually picking up on the first bands of showers associated with this. That's the best case scenario for them, because they're already seeing cloud cover before this front arrives, so they have a much lower severe potential compared to what we have. Since we are seeing the sunshine, that's why likely the SPC put us into the red compared to some of the yellows and the oranges that we're seeing to the west. So you gotta stay weather aware. Again, I think noon to 6 especially for us. Charlotte primarily around 2 to 3 is where we're going to be impacted by that. Anything goes. After that, it's just kind of dodging showers here and there for an okay weekend.
All right. Right now, nice and calm in Uptown, although cloudy, but pretty good walk if you want to grab that cup of coffee on your Friday morning.